All right, Nick, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. I'd say one of the splashiest teams in free agency this year. They made a lot of big-time moves, namely at the quarterback position, but some reports might allude that the Falcons aren't quite done setting up their quarterback room. Let's get into the article, and we can talk more about what this means on the other side. This is from Falcons Wire. It says, at the start of free agency, the Atlanta Falcons aggressively pursued quarterback Kirk Cousins, signing the former Viking signal caller to a 4-year, $180 million contract. While Cousins' presence makes it less likely for the team to take a quarterback early in the draft, the front office is still doing its due diligence. Washington QB Michael Penix Jr. impressed scouts at his pro day on Thursday and reportedly has a pre-draft meeting visit scheduled with the Falcons, according to ESPN's Brady Henderson. Again, this is from Falcons Wire. Nick, I think this is a really interesting move by the Falcons, doing their due diligence, spending one of their 30, meetings with a player like Michael Penix. That has to mean something. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, but Falcons fans, in the comment section below, with all of this new news, do you think the Falcons are done adding to their quarterback room? And if you don't think that they are done, who do you want to see added to that quarterback room realistically? Is a guy like Michael Penix Jr. on that list? Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest move by Atlanta?
So this is exactly what I was talking about, I think, back in February when I was advocating for the Falcons to sign Kirk Cousins. I thought it was the right fit. I thought it would make them, and I think it does as it currently sits, the favorite to win the NFC South. Because when you are good, when you are stable at quarterback, you don't have to reach. You don't ever have to be desperate. You don't have to sit there and think, when do we draft a quarterback? First round, second round. Do we like this guy? Do we love this guy? Are we just going to take a flyer on him? What are we going to do? Do we sign a free agent here to compete with a young guy, right? You're scrambling when you're doing that. That's what the Falcons were doing, of course, with Desmond Ridder. That's what the Browns did for feels like 3 decades, right? You never want to be in that situation, especially when you got a pretty good roster like the Atlanta Falcons. You want to be like the Kansas City Chiefs pre-Patrick Mahomes. Good football team, Alex Smith, winning games, going to the playoffs, and then wait for the right opportunity when you find a quarterback you really like. And during the entire phase when the Chiefs had Alex Smith, they were evaluating quarterbacks for years, right? They found a bunch they didn't like. They had a lot of visits, a lot of workouts. They're like, we don't really like that guy. We don't really like that guy, but we'll keep winning with Alex Smith. We'll win 10, 11 games. We'll keep riding. And then bam, Patrick Mahomes shows up and like, okay, this is our guy. Now we strike. But the Chiefs could have only done that because they had Alex Smith, because they were stable. Because if they weren't stable at quarterback, what happens to general managers and coaches? They get fired. This opens up the opportunity for a guy like Terry Fontenot, for the entire front office to sit there and say, okay, we're going to be stable. We're going to be good. I don't have to worry about upsetting the apple cart. I don't have to worry about getting fired each of these next 2, 3, 4 seasons as long as Kirk Cousins is here. I can go through these seasons and take each draft class and see if there's a quarterback we really like that we think will be our long-term guy. That's the strategy the Falcons are doing here. I think it's really smart. Again, it's the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs model. Get stable at quarterback, allows your front office and coach to spend their time and effort over years, not weeks and months, over years, evaluating draft prospects until you find the one you really like, and then you go get them, right? You never have to reach. This is why signing Kirk Cousins was critically important. The Falcons can now use this draft class, next draft class, 2026, and maybe even 2027 to see which quarterbacks they like to be their long-term guy. They don't have to reach anymore, and this move, plus the signing of Kirk Cousins, is further proof they're executing on that strategy.
Yeah, Nick, and if you're a Falcons fan, it feels good that they're not stopping to take a breath. They're not going to wait till next year to start. They're already evaluating the next quarterback to potentially be on this roster. They're going through and say, hey, this is a guy that's in our range, and Michael Penix Jr., this is a guy potentially could be draftable by us. Let's go ahead and evaluate this guy to make sure we don't miss out on him now. They're taking no time. They're going to go straight into the evaluation process. Because they have Kirk Cousins, like you said, they feel comfortable. They can do whatever they want as far as evaluating quarterbacks and just make sure they got the right guy. But you can't rest on your laurels. You can't say, all right, we have Kirk, we have a little time. You need to go ahead and go all in right now and start evaluating. And that's exactly what Terry Fontenot is doing. He's bringing in Michael Penix Jr. and just doing his due diligence, as the article said, to make sure that he is or isn't the guy. I think that's a great move by this Falcons front office because, like you said, it seemed like maybe they sat on Matt Ryan for quite a long time, and they never really had a guy that was going to be his, surefire replacement. Desmond Ridder, they brought him in. Marcus Mariota, they brought him in. But neither of those guys were the guys. And I feel like it was rushed. I feel like it was a decision that, Arthur Smith was like, oh, well, I know Marcus Mariota from his time in Tennessee with me. Let's bring him in here. He could be a good option. No, now they get to take their time, like you said. Now they get to truly go through the process, evaluate guys, and not feel rushed, like you said, not have to make a snap, quick decision on the quarterback position that we all know is vitally important in today's NFL. So I think this is great forethought by the Falcons, and this move in particular just shows they already are doing what they need to do. They're starting their due diligence. They're not waiting and showing. They're taking full advantage of having Kirk Cousins on this roster.
And again, it's just the model of success. If you go through the top contenders in the entire National Football League, all of them followed that model when they were going after their quarterback. The Kansas City Chiefs, of course, had Alex Smith. They drafted Patrick Mahomes, as I mentioned. But it's not just the Chiefs. The Buffalo Bills had Tyrod Taylor. They were going to the playoffs. They drafted Josh Allen, right? You look at the Baltimore Ravens. They had Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco, who had signed a huge deal. What did they do? They draft Lamar Jackson. Even the Green Bay Packers, of course, famously, Brett Favre, they draft Aaron Rodgers, and then at the end of Aaron Rodgers' career, they draft Jordan Love, right? This is what the good teams do. This is what smart teams do. When you have your quarterback, even if he's not your elite guy, but if you're solid and stable, you can take advantage of that opportunity to not rush it, to not push the issue. Find the guy that's a perfect fit for your scheme and franchise. Michael Penix Jr. could be the guy, but if he's not, no problem. You don't have to rush. You don't have to wait. You can wait till the next draft class and start the process all over again. This is what signing Kirk Cousins has allowed the Falcons to do. I was curious if they were going to act on this strategy. I'm really excited to see that Fontenot and company did, and I think it's a great sign for Atlanta going forward.